Good to see you guys. Hope you enjoyed the scrimmage. It's a terrific opportunity for us to get out here in front of some fans. I want to say thank you to our fans that came. I mean, there was a great feeling in there, just being around people that crave Marquette basketball. We're about a month away from our opener. We're about 8 practice days into the preseason. And, you know, our mentality really since the start of school has been, you know, we're going to have to really, really continue to grow our championship habits if we want to be a championship team. And then working on being the best us in different circumstances. And that was the best thing about today compared to practice is, you know, we get to play in Fiserv. We get to have some fans there, officials. And so the circumstances were a little bit different than, you know, an ordinary practice. You know, part of the preseason for us is just trying to be creative because we have 6 weeks where it's 30 practice days. And if you do the same thing over and over again, there's certainly a monotony that goes into being excellent. But at the same time, as I tell the guys, variety's the spice of life. So it's on us as coaches to give them different looks, different teams, different venues. And today, again, was a great opportunity to do that. We've got a lot of advantages on our team. And I thought, you know, in today's game, there were some advantages that the guys did a really good job pressing. There was other advantages that we didn't press as hard as we should have and need to. Don't really get into worrying too much about who won, gold or blue, but I'm not surprised that gold maybe fared better than people thought they would. As a group, we have a long way to go. We're certainly excited about our upper limits and going after reaching those. But I think the biggest thing that we take out of today is we need each other even more than sometimes we know, and certainly more than anyone outside of our locker room knows.
Shaka, you think about the mental side of the game a lot. You know, one of the biggest questions you're going to get asked over and over this season is what's it like going from the hunters to the hunted? I'm just curious, how have you changed like your approach to the mental side?
Well, we're always evolving with the way that we approach the mental side of the game. You know, honestly, what other people think of you and where other people rate you or rank you or prognosticate you, that's always going to be secondary. It was last year. It is this year. For us, what's way more important is the internal feeling we have inside of our locker room, the way that guys are committed to playing and pulling for one another, regardless of circumstances. You know, we value relationships, growth, and victory. So we understand the intimate connection between those 3 things. In a given year, people may say we're really good. People may say we're not good. We certainly can utilize that stuff when it's appropriate. But at the end of the day, the deep, true, special motivation, particularly when you're in a team sport, comes from the guys next to you and wanting to do it for them. And so we had that last year. We don't take that for granted. And we're going to have that this year because our guys understand that, you know, in order to go do something special, it's kind of like today. If, you know, someone was going to pick who was going to win, they probably would say, you know, the blue team will win. That doesn't do anything for you. You got to go out and take the game. And proud of the guys on our gold team for doing that.
Everyone can see Jop is in tremendous shape. Just how have you seen that evolve in his game? How has that helped him?
Well, he did this VersaClimber program this summer that we've had guys do, select guys over the years, going all the way back to when I was at VCU. And for those of you that are familiar with the VersaClimber, it's one of those torture devices that, you know, it's as hard as you make it. I mean, you can go all out on that thing, and you are basically climbing up a hill with your arms and your legs. And so Jop did a program over the course of the entire summer with Todd Smith, and Cam Brown also did it with Jop, and he really pushed himself. And I was in there a few days. I jumped on the VersaClimber with those guys. I didn't do it every day with them, but I've done the whole program before, and I know what it feels like when you're done. You just have a different motor and a different confidence to your ability to find more inside. So that's what we'll see from Jop this year, and we're going to need it. He's a huge, huge key for our team.
Who are some guys in the past that have done that, like at VCU and stuff like that?
Well, Mo Ali Cox is probably the one that comes to mind the most. And it was a combination of the VersaClimber and what we call the parking deck mile, which we had at VCU and we have here. I think the key is, and Caden will experience this, anytime a guy's not playing over the course of a season, you got to give him other challenges. So for Mo, he sat out his first year, and some of those conditioning challenges are exactly what allowed him to become a high motor guy, and now he's in the NFL. But that's something that, Jop had to take on this summer, and I got a feeling we'll see Caden on the VersaClimber as well in the coming months.
I think people think of Sean Jones as kind of a lockdown on-ball defender, but today, he was getting deep in the paint and knocked down a couple threes. What steps are you expecting Sean to take this year?
Well, he's so fast and quick. We want him to utilize his speed and his pace on the floor, his quickness, but then also understand when to utilize changing speeds and slowing down and playing with poise. And through 8 practice days, man, he's made a real step in that area compared to last year. As a freshman, he came in right out of high school, and he's used to scoring. He scored a lot in high school, and he was a guy that could score in bunches and in different ways. And really what we need him to do first and foremost on the offensive end is organize our team and get shots for other guys. Obviously today he was on the gold team, but a lot of times he's going to be out there this year with Tyler, with Jop, with Cam. And if he can get in the paint and draw help and find those guys, utilize his speed to draw help, but then play with poise, then he can be a heck of an asset for us. The other thing is, we call him a havoc wreaker on defense. And, his ability along with Stevie to just bother the other team with ball pressure, hand activity, deflections, and just all around havoc is something that he has as an advantage. Stevie has an advantage. And if we don't press that advantage, then we're not as good as we can be.
Shaka, Joplin lost weight. Ben Gold, before you came in, said he was at 245 and he came in around 220. How does that extra weight, that extra strength help him defensively, and what are you expecting out of him in his second year?
Well, Benny, like Sean and like Chase, we expect those guys to take a big jump as sophomores. That's our way. You come in here as a freshman, you are a valuable contributor on a team that wins significant games. In the case of these guys' freshman year, they were valuable contributors on a championship team. And then once you have your feet under you and once you kind of have been around the sun one time in a Marquette uniform, then it's like, okay, let's go. I know how it is. I know what I got to do, and I'm ready to go after it. Now, Ben was hampered a little bit and is still a little bit limited by his shin splints injury. He missed about 2+ months over the course of the summer. As you know, he didn't play in Italy. He's not practiced full time. This is about the most he's gone today, playing 24 minutes out there, game minutes. But he's a guy that I think what you're going to see from Ben, knock on wood, hopefully he's able to stay healthy, is you'll see a Ben that's better in December than he was in November, and a Ben that's better in January than he was in December, and so on going towards the end of the year. I think our sophomore class has a phenomenal template to use in last year's sophomore class. Stevie Mitchell, Cam Jones, David Joplin, what they did coming back in their second year, how they grew over the course of the year, and how they stuck with it and got better and better and turned into guys that were very, very significant to us winning the games that we won.
Talk about Chase Ross making an impact on this year's team. What role do you kind of see him in going into the season?
I think that's the most shots Chase Ross has ever taken in a game. 17 shots. He kind of, on that team, needed to do that today. And he's really taken a jump as a player. It's great to see his confidence. You've heard me say this before. Chase Ross is a dude. He's one of those guys that if you're walking down an alley and there might be something that pops off, you want Chase Ross walking right next to you. And on top of that, he is an incredibly diligent worker, and he truly cares about winning and doing all the little things that go into winning. Sometimes he cares so much that, he gets caught a little bit in, am I letting my teammates down if I'm not playing perfectly? And we try to get all our guys to understand basketball is a game of mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I mean, today he was 8 for 17. So he missed some shots. He had 4 turnovers, but he had 17 points, 3 assists. He was all over the place on the defensive end. Got some big rebounds. And he was a presence out there for his team that contributed to them winning. He just makes you feel better when you have him out there on the court in the same uniform as you. So very excited about the growth that he's making.
You talk about Chase being a dude. I think Zayd's got a little dudeness in him too.
For sure.
How have you seen him kind of learn how to harness his athleticism and his slashing ability to find a role on this team?
Well, if I'm Zayd Lowry, I am spending as much time as possible with Chase Ross and saying, Chase, teach me about how things went down last year with you. How did you carve out this role for yourself as, one of the top 7 guys on the team? How did you, effectively work your way into being one of the best blend guys on the team that could play with any lineup? Because those two do have a lot in common. And Zayd is even a little bit taller, a little bit longer. He's a heck of a mover. That's the best thing about him. His body moves around the floor well. And that is so important in a style of play like ours because we value multiple efforts. He's just getting started. I thought he did some really good things today. But at the same time, there were some plays today where he wasn't tough enough. He wasn't mean enough. He wasn't violent enough. That, as a freshman, is probably going to be the case, at least early on. But I think as he continues to find confidence in playing with aggressiveness, he's only going to do more and more. But what I'm really, really enthused about with him, and it wasn't just today, but really this whole preseason and going back to our games in Italy, he's not been afraid. He's gone after it. He's, been a really good learner, and he's been someone that's not afraid to, go out there with his teammates and go up against someone like a David Joplin that's a couple years older and hold his own. So very excited about him.
Your backcourt is so deep. Have you thought about rolling out 4-guard lineup sometimes this year?
Oh yeah, I mean we're and that's one of the reasons, Ben, that rebounding is something that we work on every day. You saw us doing some of our rebounding vitamins at the very beginning there before we started playing, because we're gonna have some lineups out there for sure with 4 guards, maybe 5 guards, because we've got the bottom line is we want to have the best 5 guys in the game at any given time for that situation. And if we can have 5 guys flying around, getting their hands on the basketball, helping each other, disrupting what the other team does, and then making things really, really difficult for the other team on our offensive end, then we'll do what we got to do. That being said, I think just developing different lineups is a huge key for us over the next several weeks, even after we start our first game, because there are a lot of different options, a lot of different lineups we could play. So today's scrimmage was in part a chance to see one group play against another group. And I said to the Gold team at one point, one of the media timeouts, hey, do you guys want this to be a lineup that might be in the game with 7:37 left in the game in a close game? And if you do, then we've got to continue to build that chemistry. And we're looking forward to the coming opportunities to do that. We have 2 close scrimmages, I guess, that I'm not allowed to talk about until after they're done. And then obviously a million practices between now and the first game.
Shaka, you're big on relationships, you're big on family. I read somewhere over the summer that you send recruits like a PDF of stuff you're looking for in your program to them early on in the recruiting stages. What stuff is in that? What stuff do you emphasize? What do you look for in the player?
It's our culture doc is what we send to them. So it's 26 pages. that lays out who we want to be, who we strive every day to become. And, knowing that we're never going to be perfect, but our culture doc includes our mission to create and sustain championship-level success. And that's not just on the court in games. That's in everything we do. Our 3 core values: relationships, growth, and victory. And then I know it sounds like a lot, but under each core value, there are 7 principles. So 7 principles under relationships, 7 principles under growth, 7 under victory. And in the culture doc, all that stuff is spelled out. The reason that I really like to use it in recruiting is this place, like anywhere else, is not for everyone. And we want to get early on an understanding and a shared understanding of, hey, this is what it's going to be like if you come here. And this is how you're going to be coached. And this is what you're going to be expected to do. And this is the type of teammate that we're going to expect you to be. We say culture is simply how we act, interact, and respond. That's it. So you can have stuff up on the wall. You can have a culture doc like what I send to our recruits and we use with our guys on a daily basis. But if it's just words on paper, it doesn't really matter. Our job is to bring it to life. And the most important component of that is the people in our room. And so the people in our room obviously is determined by recruiting. And it's very important for us early on to have open dialogue about who we want to be.
Shaka, a question about your lineup. Playing Ben Gold and Oso in the same lineup, do you look at that as saying, geez, Ben can play the stretch 5, he could play the stretch 4, Oso can play the point 5, the point 4, or do you look at, wow, we could have a TV timeout and we could have 2 fouls on each of them before I can get a chance to sub them out? I mean, what?
I hope not. No, it's more the first thing you said. We definitely will play those guys together a good amount. I mean, probably shouldn't say this. I don't know if it's a favoritism or not, but Ben Gold. If you said to me, hey, I'll give you one guy that's going to have an awesome season, is going to take a big jump, Benny Gold, man. Benny Gold. Because it just changes our team because he's 6'10" and he can shoot and he gives us, just such versatility out there on both ends of the floor. So absolutely he can play with Oso. The good thing about those two when they're playing together is either one can be our trigger man. That's kind of what we call the spot that's sprinting into pick and rolls and getting catches in our offense. Either one of those guys can play that. Oso doing it gives us maybe more of a threat rolling or lobbing or in a short roll. Ben in the trigger puts the other team in a bind because he can shoot. So you heard them say earlier, if the other team's in a drop coverage, like they're backing up, a lot of these teams have these big aircraft carrier bigs that they don't want to leave the paint. And so if they're dropping back on our pick and rolls or some of our actions, then Ben's really good at popping and he can make that 3. So you'll definitely see that lineup a lot, but then also sometimes Ben in the game, with another 4 as,